I almost gave away the next Gator video. I'm not doing that.
Oh,
That's
definitely
gotta
don't
be a
do
surprise. Yeah, I just saw
Don't
that we
do
went
that.
live. Yeah.
Yeah, Gator has to be a surprise for everybody.
Gator's a surprise.
All right.
It was an investment too. So you want to start us off?
I was gonna say, you start us off. Yeah, I did
Cool.
last time.
Welcome back to Market Movers. We are the Lender Avengers, and we do a monthly mastermind focused on creating content and marketing mostly for real estate professionals.
You're welcome to join
know.
if you're not, but some of it
Yeah.
might get a little boring if we start talking, market
Industry
things.
jargon.
Mm-hmm.
So real quick, go around the room. My name's Nate. I've been a loan officer for 12 years. I got it right this time. I remembered this time.
Good job.
And I started creating content and marketing my business on social media in like 2017, 2018.
Show off. I'm Rebecca Richardson, and I have been a lender for over 20 years and started using content about 5.5 years ago as far as video content that then has morphed into all of this.
Mm-hmm. My name is Caden Nini. I've been a loan officer for a little over 3 years now. And what does Bane say in Batman? He was like, I was born in it. That's how I feel with content. I immediately started doing it right away. And then that's how I got connected to these two. So all I've ever known is amortization and content creation.
Hey. Oh, but yes, fabulous job.
Okay, that needs to go somewhere.
Please tell me that you started with the videos where it was like bump, 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 and you're like pointing to text on the screen.
Very first video talking about credit scores, and I am happy to. You know what? I'm gonna go screen record it and share it again, and be like, "This is where this all starts."
This is where it started.
Yeah.
I you know how like you kind of sometimes look at old videos and you'll see it's kind of like looking at old Facebook status, like there's like major cringe.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other times you're like, oh yeah, it was kind of good there. And look at how it progressed. How fabulous. It was still good data or still good content. It's just worthy of a repost. Why not?
Yeah.
So
hold me to it.
We're gonna talk about captions, and like as we're on the topic of one of our first videos, I think my first video, I think the caption was, I guess here we go, or it was something like, I don't know what we're doing here. It was very much like we're diving into this and let's see what happens.
Right. Well, and I feel like captions have also kind of taken like, particularly on TikTok, right? I know we talk more about Facebook and Instagram and all that here, but particularly on TikTok, at first it was just kind of like, it was like, okay, we're going to spam it with hashtags. And then it was like, no hashtags. And then it was, let me do something. Let me add like a slice of my humor or snark or something in the captions. And now the captions are really more kind of like mini blogs from a SEO perspective, right? Like all what you say, what you type, all that gets into what the algorithm picks up and how they send a video out. So captions actually do matter. So it's fine to have fun with it and do, kind of some show of your personality or some humor. But for the most part, captions really are really meant to enhance your video versus just fill up the space.
Well, it's interesting how it's evolved over the years too, in every single platform. I think it was like the president of Instagram even came out. I mean, this was a few months ago, and said, "Hey, y'all stop adding like 25 hashtags to your captions. Like it's good, like 3 or 4 is good."
Right.
But that used to not be the strategy, like you said. So we're going to talk real quick on captions, because I do think this is probably the most neglected part about creating content. Number 2 probably being like lighting or sound. I don't know which one's number 1, but captions.
Let us know in the comments what you think. What do you think? What do you think? People would neglect more of the captions, not having good lighting or not having good sound?
Well, I don't know about you, but like sometimes when I get done with a video, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I have to write a caption. Like I just did the thing and now I have to write a caption. So kind of having a formula and knowing the direction of where you're going to go with the caption before you even make the video. So like when I'm creating content, I try to create the script, create the idea, create the point, and then I also create the caption before I even film. That way it's all in unison, and I can make sure that there's harmony between not only the content, the message that I'm trying to send out, and then also the caption.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, I think another word that goes well with harmony is flow. Because like it all starts from, I think we've talked about this on other lives, but it all starts with the hook and then all finishes through the caption. Like it's all one continuous thing as we work through it. So, and another good thing about captions is it allows you to elaborate more, like we've talked about, but it also allows you to call out. You can get ahead of the stuff people want to call out in your videos, the trolls, if we will. Or you're like, hey, you can do this on a certain loan type, and you know that there's somebody out there going, well, what about this? And if you can clean that up, then you can just go, you didn't read my caption, did you? Yeah. So it's it's fun to kind of fight back.
Sometimes it's like what makes a good video a lot of times is brevity, being direct and all that kind of stuff. But as we know, what is a lender's favorite answer? It depends. So it's good. The caption area is a really great space to then be able to put in that clarification of saying, getting into details or getting into some of the scenarios. I think too, because I know we talked about as far as like, being connecting the dots, is that's what that's there for, is to fill in kind of like all the half, sort of the side conversations, if you will, if you were explaining it to a client and say, well, this is the situation, but under this scenario, this is what applies, or whatever the case may be. It's a perfect place to do it in the captions because one, it adds to the video content, and two, it actually gives the viewer something to do other than just watch the video, right? Like that's kind of one of my things is typically my caption isn't going to just repeat what's in the video. It's meant to expand on it. Or if the video is particularly, let's say, kind of left brain analytical, I want to be able to get more creative or, more of an emotional connection in the caption, and vice versa. If it's something that's more of like telling a story, I want to give more of kind of the facts and figures in the caption so they complement each other.
And so when we're talking about captions, and that was the first strategy, is connecting the dots and giving additional context. But the way that we see it, we came up when we were brainstorming this idea, we see 3 possible caption strategies, so to speak, and they kind of they fall into 3 different buckets. They don't really fall in a bucket, but you see what I'm saying. They're in 3 different buckets. So the first one being connect the dots in the video. Rebecca she briefly talked on that, but I think it's important, like when you watch back, specifically with video marketing, or if you're using even a picture, sometimes like a picture is worth 1,000 words, but sometimes those words are missing. So if you watch your video, or you look at your picture or whatever it is, and you're noticing like, okay, I'm missing a little context, or like this could probably use some additional context here. Like, what is my viewer? It's we talk about this all the time, but your ability to empathize with your viewer, which is your ideal client, is important in marketing. It's like the most important thing. So if you can put yourself in the shoes of the viewer and look back and say, okay, what questions is this going to spark? And can I get in front of some of that to not only educate them more, but also so that I don't get filled with those troll comments, like you said. And Kaden, like, so I know that SEO has become more and more important, and I've read a bunch of studies where it's like even Gen Z and some millennials, they are using TikTok or even Instagram as a search engine. So talk a little bit about that, like how captions can help with SEO as well.
I mean, on a small, really low end level, when I talk about this, if I've seen a video on TikTok and I didn't like it and I want to go show somebody, I was like, I should have saved that. Do you know how easy it is to go find it? Like it seems so silly to go, you just type in roughly what it was about and you can find that video. That shows the power of like the SEO, depending on what you put in the caption. And I think TikTok's even getting pretty good to even understanding what the video actually is itself and being able to type and I think common searches are starting to build a little bit so you can find that same video of popular videos. So just that, but I know that people are using it for like restaurants. Like for SEO of like a certain restaurant location, food in Phoenix, right? Because what's better than a photo of a place? How about a full video experience of what I'm actually going to be walking into? And you, short of being able to taste the food, you get a whole idea of what that restaurant or any kind of other business is going to provide. And that's why unfortunately, I am calling myself a
foodie.
Big researcher of all this stuff on TikTok because I take in so much content. Yeah. But there's so many videos of people reviewing food. Like and that's what it's popular because people get to like live an experience through somebody else, and then it all goes from there to SEO, so people can search it. So there's just so much power in that.
And
although we don't have great, well, I was going to say, although we don't have maybe like a great burger to show off or something like that, I think how that translates to real estate is why it's helpful to do things like, more lifestyle content. What is it like to be in this neighborhood? What is it like to go through the process? How can you read a loan estimate? Show them and tell them is such a powerful combination.
Yeah, the experience piece.
Yeah.
Well, and so specifically for real estate professionals, like if we're talking about like lifestyle content, let's say that you were talking about, okay, top 5 reasons you should move to Phoenix. If one of Caden's agents did that, you can give that additional context. It's like, okay, it's number 1 is, I don't know, the weather, whatever it is, but you can also give some additional commentary that helps make you the authority figure. And we talk about being like the digital mayor of your local town, wherever you are. So again, giving additional context, but also giving like some additional authority there. And then one of the things too, like when we're talking about connecting the dots, we touched on this really quickly, but it does help the algorithm understand who we need to show this video to or this piece of content to, because the more keywords that you put in there and you give the algorithm a good idea of what the video is about, they know like, okay, the last time such and such was on Instagram, they loved watching a video about Phoenix and the best things to do in Phoenix. So like I have seen the word Phoenix in here and the best things and all this other stuff that it's in our caption. So it says, okay, that person who watched another person's video that is similar to that, like they might be interested in this one too. So it also helps get in front of not only like your local help me out, local audience, your local audience, but it's connecting the dots in the video, but it's also connecting the dots for the algorithm too.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the second one that we wanted to talk about was as far as how you can use captions to connect your audience with a call to action or essentially what it is that you want them to do next, right? So that might be comment, because engagement obviously helps push your content out. It might be save it, share it with a friend, same kind of thing. It's just, this is valuable content. Please pass it on, push it out. But also, is it contact you? Is it go to the link in your bio so they can apply? So let's kind of talk about some of the call to actions and the good way to do it and the smarmy way to do it.
Okay.
Let's go with the good way first.
I tend to, with a lot of my captions, I'll like start with a question. And then sometimes I'll end with a question. So, the kind of like we had talked about before, as far as a hook to start a video, same thing for the caption, you can do that, but you can also end the caption that has a call to action from the standpoint of like, what do you think about this? Particularly if it's something that's in the news, or it's maybe something that, probably can bring in some comments like, it's better to buy a house with PMI than waiting until you have 20% down or something like that. It's like, what is your opinion? So that's a lot of times how I try to do that. Nate, what about you?
Well, and talk real quick about how that's important to drive that type of engagement.
Oh, right. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like, because by being able to ask a question, one is it's great because it helps foster that community aspect that we want to have in our comment section. It lets me know, selfishly, it lets me know what people want to know about. So that's great because it just gives me that feedback. So I know. And the more comments you have back and forth, it essentially shows the algorithm. It's like, hey, something cool's happened over here. Other people might be interested in, and that's what pushes it out to more people.
Well, we talk about like one of the biggest objections of people not creating video content or creating content in general is like they don't know what to post. So one of the cool things about just getting started, if you have some engagement like this and you get a bunch of comments, a lot of times, like if we get stuck or we have writer's block, we just go through our comment section, and it's the same thing that when you were in school, the teacher would say, hey, don't be scared to ask a question because chances are someone else has that same question. So it's the same kind of thought process when you're looking in your comment section. you're wanting to fish for that engagement. So not only, like Rebecca said, you're getting feedback from what your audience actually needs and they find useful and they find value in. That helps you connect, but that also is a good litmus test for what people in general want to begin with. So it helps you create content, more and more content, because you are having to come up with less ideas, and it's less about coming up with ideas at that point. And it's more about how am I going to communicate that? But you did that because you had a call to action in the caption to promote engagement. Another call to action that we were talking about is like it's more salesy, and this is more like, okay, this is a hard hitting call to action. Like when you are ready to buy a property, click the link in my bio, in the bio. Click the link in my bio to schedule a call. That's big Pensacola energy right there.
Yeah.
It just came out, right?
It just came out.
If only there was a Cajun accent. If only.
Right.
Only.
So, and you don't want to put a call to action like that on a super salesy call to action like that on every single video, because then people will start seeing your content and they'll just say, oh, Nate's trying to sell me something again. So we're going to get to the other caption strategy here in a second, but we don't want to just appear that like we're selling constantly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and to that point is, yeah, what is the ultimate goal? Is it to drive conversations, or is it drive passing along guides and sales? I think both have their place, and I think we both lean a little bit of we'd rather drive some conversations, not only because we can create more content out of it, but we're actually getting on a deeper level than here's this guide, right? So and it seems like, because if you have a certain call to action that's do this one thing, it can be a closed-ended thing, and then you have to restart up the conversation. Whereas if you're leaving it with a question and it's an actual genuine question back, or a genuine thought from somebody, that is something where you start a conversation, you start to see how people think, and you start to get a little bit deeper with people in the market and the community you're working with.
Well, it comes down to what we've talked about is keeping, I mean, it started out as social networking. It's social media. Keep it social. It's like, imagine if you were having this conversation in real life and somebody says, hey, I have this question about buying a house, and you give like a 2-word sentence and you just sit there and go, like, it doesn't make people feel very comfortable. So it's kind of like, yes, give the information, but it's like, is there anything else, is there anything else you may want to know? And having a good call to action starts that conversation.
And so I think one of the things we need to do is really give folks like an actionable item or like an idea that they can take. So like, let's focus on, I can take real estate, and then maybe y'all take loan officer. Let's come up with an example of like, okay, here's a call to action that in a rough draft of a caption, or just like the ideology of what you would do in a caption to then spark that engagement. So like, let's say that it was a lifestyle video of the top 5 things that are great about living in Pensacola, and you're a real estate agent, and you're making a quick video, and you're not giving like a ton of context. Like you might be showing visually like, hey, it's the beach, it's the seafood, it's whatever. But then your call to action is, what are your favorite parts about living in Pensacola? So then you create that conversation that starts. And then what's cool, going back to that, is like, now you've got like all of these different things that you can then work in more lifestyle videos as well. You're getting ideas of like, okay, these are cool parts about Pensacola. Now I can go feature these things, and I'm getting a conversation going, building a community, building a connection, all from that call to action to drive that engagement. So Caden, give an example of a call to action, not necessarily to drive engagement, but let's say for a sales funnel for LOs.
Sales funnel. I've always been taught in the groups that I've been in, and I know people really like Alex Shamosi in this, and it's to give away things for free. You want to actually give something away to somebody, so something's tangible they can walk away with, versus like, go do this because just go do an application. It's like, well, no, we're not there yet. Like that's where you can kind of open up. So it's almost like and you might be seeing this. I know I see it a lot because these are the people that I follow and know, but you'll see DM or comment the word X to get my guide. To your point, Nate, earlier, like it can be overdone for sure. But I think in the right situation, and you're like, hey, I'm really passionate about this thing. I've created this thing. I want you to have it because it's going to give you a little bit more context than my 45-second video. That is where you'll be able to drive, you'll be able to give them something away for free, create a little bit better connection. But then you're also getting information for people to, be able to put them on email lists and be able to give them even more information of something like, oh, you showed interest in this. Let me give you more information passively through the next couple of months on X, X, Y, and Z. So that's where, you're seeing a lot of the comment, DM, and then you're able to, and it is it's probably the clearest call to action I've ever seen, because it's like, you have to take 1 second to type a word.
Do this thing.
Do this one thing.
Do this thing next.
My personal favorite is when people misspell it, and then it doesn't maybe set off the mini chat. That's fun, but I digress.
Well, and this is why that can be. You see a lot of people doing that kind of call to action is comment this word and you'll get X. There's a really great software you can use. It's called ManyChat, ManyChat. But the reason that that's really powerful is because it saves a step of saying, go to my link in bio, right? Because to do that, you have to navigate away from the video, go to the person's profile, click on the link. It's just the simpler you can make it to be able to further that conversation. That's why that's so powerful. I would say, as far as for an example for a call to action, let's say like one of my favorite loan strategies is gift of equity. And that's when somebody's buying a home from a family member can gift them the down payment and the closing cost. It's really unique situation, but it's super great when it works out for a family. Most people don't know about it. So it always tends to get, some good eyeballs on it, some good engagement, starting conversation. But the way that I would end that call to action would probably just be like, is this something like, would you buy your grandma's home? Right? Because some people would be like, oh, absolutely. Like built in the 50s with great bones for sure. And other people would say, no, because I don't want to have 47 rooms and I want an open floor plan, or whatever. But it's like, people love to give their opinion, obviously. So give them that opportunity.
See, I would just ask them to tag their grandma. Like, hey, tag your grandma below. We're buying her
tag
house.
your grandma and tell her she needs to sell you her house. I'm sure that would go over great. Grandma would love to be tagged in a video like that on Instagram.
Nate, you need to make that video, please.
I mean, I did one.
I'll dare you to tag your grandma.
Yeah, you won't.
I did one. It was like tag your FBI agent, because I said something ridiculous.
He's busy watching on the other side of the camera. Come on.
Yeah. That leads to the final one, which is connecting with your community. And this is admittedly probably my favorite one, because it's an opportunity for you to show your personality a little bit more, and to create. When we think of a community, we think of like having some commonality, and one way you can do that is by creating like some inside jokes. And so, I mean, one of us for our team used to be like, is a hot dog a sandwich or not? So for a while there, like that was an inside joke. And so when you're creating that community, creating those inside jokes, like you can do so in the captions when it's related to the video. And those are normally like a little quicker. It's kind of like the punchline. It's a little bit, it's like you may have a punchline in the video or whatever it is. And then if you're sharing a meme or something like that, it's you kind of adding on to the joke and adding like an additional punchline that, or whatever it is that will show a little bit of your personality.
Mm-hmm. And it can even be done. I know we're talking about caption, but just as many of that stuff that you can share. There's a fine line between going into your personal life if you want to or not, but some of those inside jokes, like there's kind of a running joke between another LO here and I about cold brew, where he's like, that's mud water. And I'm like, it's actually it can be good, but yeah. So we go back and forth on our stories every once in a while talking about coffee. So just those little things go a long way in just and connecting with people, even though you're not directly in their face.
Well, and we've talked about this too, from the importance as far as who are you making the content for, right? Who is your ideal client? Who is your client avatar that you want to see that video? And I think a lot of times people are scared to make specific content because it's like, well, I can work with anybody and I can help everybody. Yes, you can. But you need to remember that some of your content should be specific because you're going to be perfect for somebody, but they need to know that you're speaking to them. And that can be in the caption where you say like, hey, first-time home buyers, hey, veterans, hey, realtors, something like that. And it's like, as people are scrolling, because I mean, again, it's, you gotta catch their attention really quickly. But like, if they see a word that, aligns with one of their characteristics or identity or profession or whatever, it's like, oh, this is meant for me. And that's a way to really be able to bring them in and be like, I'm part of your community. I serve your community, and here's information that I think that you need. And that, that's very easy to do just there in the first, 5 or 6 words of a caption.
And another part of this is kind of telling our personal story and being a little bit more vulnerable and showing that connection with our ideal client through that caption and that vulnerability, that personal story, if you will. I think that's one thing that a lot of realtors and loan officers should do more of, is tell more stories about their home buying experience, about their home selling experience, about whatever it is that it is industry related, that it can also relate back to their ideal client, so that your ideal client is watching this and is reading this, and they're understanding like, oh, okay, this person has actually been through what I'm trying to go through. They can understand what I'm going through. Therefore, I trust them. I want to work with them. So don't be afraid to tell those stories. One of the things that we did, I think it was last week, 2 weeks ago, when we did a webinar with first time home buyers. And we talked about our first time buying a home and just our home buying experience. I've gotten some great feedback on that. As we start to keep pushing that content out, I think hopefully what that also does is like, it starts a conversation in the comment section. One of the things that I want to do with that is like, hey, was your first time home buying experience good or bad? And try to drive engagement that way, so that we can get people talking, so that someone is not, it's community building, because people are going to start reading the comments too. I mean, how many times do you go and you see like, oh my goodness, there's 100 comments on this, whatever. And,
what did they say?
Right. And I've gotten feedback as well as like, I enjoy your posts, but your comment section is just as fun. And I love that, because that tells me that like, I'm doing a good job of building that community. So that's something that a lot of people neglect. So don't neglect building your actual community.
Yeah. So to wrap things up, I'm going to put our QR code up here for people so they can, I'll do it in a second, as soon as I can remember how to do it. But I was thinking that what we could do was maybe share our best kind of one piece of advice
for creating a caption.
Yeah, for creating a caption.
I think some of it goes with like the tone of the video, or the tone of the actual piece of content that you're putting out there. I'm not going to put out a piece of content talking about how interest rates have gone up and then like make a joke in like a serious video. Like, it's got to match the same energy, right? So be cognizant of like how people are going to probably take your content, and then make sure that you are either filling in the gap or you're extending your message of that content in the caption. So just be really cognizant of how it's going to be perceived, and then back that up with caption.
Yep.
I would say, I think the best use of a caption now is kind of like a good email. So you're keeping people continually reading, and it's keeping it entertaining, whether it's with information past what you've already talked on, and you're elaborating on it more. But it's like each thing's leading to the next thing as you work down to like the final question or the call to action. Like, that's, I feel like, has been one of the best uses of captions I've seen from others, of just really keeping that funnel going. It's another sneaky way of getting more views on your reel that can be pushed out to more people. But if you have something to say, don't think that people are going to stick around just because you did something. Like, you got to put in some effort. And I think that is what changed with content in general, in video. And I think we're seeing it now in actually written form, is, people standing out versus the rest, and actually putting in the effort to the littlest bit of what a caption is.
Absolutely. And I would say my piece of advice is to use the QR code for our caption creator. So That's right. So this will take you to our website that has a link to a custom GBT that you can put in your idea, and it'll spit out some ideas as far as what you can say. If you don't have the paid version of chat, that is totally cool. There is a PDF there that you can download that walks you through kind of some of the thought process, because it's very easy to get writer's block. Particularly like Nate said, I've already done this whole video and now have to be creative again to say something totally different. So this will just walk you through how to do that and make it a little bit easier so you can make sure that your captions count.
Love it. Perfect. Next one is April 3rd.
Yep.
Did we remember what we were talking about or not? We will blast
I know we have it written down, but this is not to that level of production yet. So
no, we're getting there.
StreamYard sponsor me and I'll have more time to prepare better. But regardless, we will be here again on April 3rd. We will share our very best content creation ideas with you so you can get in the arena with us, and appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Peace.
Bye, y'all.